This is a silicone mold that I just got, and I actually got it at Michael's in the bakery section, and I believe it's for fondant, but I thought it might look cool on the furniture. And because it's so thin in here, I think it's going to be hard to use the paper clay in it, so I'm going to use resin. And I'm using this amazing casting resin, which cures in 10 minutes. And it comes with a little measuring cup, and I check this mold with water to see how many milliliters it will hold, so I know how much resin to mix up. And I have an extra little mold here just to pour some in if I have leftovers. So you want to mix equal parts of this A side with equal parts of the B side. And what I'm going to do, since I need 20 milliliters total, I'm going to measure this out. I believe it's 20. Yeah. It's actually 15 total. So I'm measuring this out 7.5. And then I'll add 7.5 to this cup. So that it gets up to 15. And you can see it already start to turn a little cloudy when the two mix together. You want to stir this for about 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds, and when it gets all cloudy looking, and you want to do this in paper or plastic, not in styrofoam, because it'll melt the styrofoam. So I've got this stirred up, and then I'm going to start pouring this in this mold. And it's okay if some of it spills over, because I can use the stick to scrape it off. The main thing is just to try to make sure you get it full. Any little pieces that come over, it's okay. You can take those off when it cures. And this only takes about 10 minutes, and it's ready to come out when it turns white. See how this is all turned white in here? So it's ready. You can take it out when it turns white. And I did make a note here on the form in case I do this again after today, because you think you'll remember, but you don't. I marked it 15 millimeters of resin, so that way I don't have to re-measure it. So I'm going to take this out just kind of like I do the clay. And the good thing about this is that it's still flexible. You can even start, probably better to start at this end, because of the direction of the leaves. Yeah. The good thing is taking it out like this, just like using the air dry clay, it's flexible. So I can put it on the piece of furniture because it's curved here. So I'm going to put some glue on it. And this is a Tight Bond Quick and Thick. It's really good glue. And it dries clear. Of course, this is going to be painted, so if a little bit oozes out on here, it won't matter, because it'll be painted. And I'm going to use tape to hold this on too. off some little pieces of tape. You see, all these pieces here will just be sticking out if you don't tape them. Unless you want to stand there and hold them down, but you really physically couldn't do that. Okay, this is a piece that we got a while back, and I've done a few things to get it ready to work on. I've patched some places on it that needed to be patched. I, of course, cleaned it first really good inside and out, sanded it really good because the top on this was really slick. So after I sanded it and cleaned it, I put a coat of the Dixie Belle Slick Stick on it, and you let that dry for 24 hours, and then you can put another coat on if you need. But I felt it after the first coat, and it feels really good. It's stuck on there good, and paint should do well on that. So, and this one I'm actually going to be painting it almost the same color that it is now, a bright turquoise, and then I'm going to be putting the oil-based stain over it, and then water-based polyurethane. So it should look really good. I'm going to kind of copy something that the Shabby Guy does. So I like those pieces that he does. So I'm going to try it with this piece. Okay. Yesterday I put these resin molds on here that I made from a form I bought at Michael's. It's in the bakery section, and it's actually for, I believe, for fondant designs on cakes. And I did resin because the clay was just, I think, a little bit too thin in places here. So I glued them on. And I let these sit overnight. I'm using Bear's paint. It's in a flat finish, and this is one that I make myself, and I use calcium carbonate, and I mix about 4 tablespoons of calcium carbonate into the quart of paint, but you first want to mix that with warm water, like probably a couple tablespoons, depending on the humidity, might be 4 tablespoons of water. But you mix just a couple tablespoons in it first of real warm water, and then you might have to add a little bit more just so that it becomes a really thick paste that you stir into the paint. And that'll turn your paint into chalk paint. And this was a custom color that I had mixed for something, so I liked the color so much I used it on things still. One of the reasons why I decided to paint this color, I wanted to use a bright color because I think it looks pretty with the stain, oil-based stain, like the Shabby Guy does. And this happened to be the color of the piece mostly anyway. So I thought, might as well use this color, which it is very close to what it was. I'm going to reuse the hardware also. I'm just going to probably use some gilding wax on it, probably in gold. And I'll probably touch these little decorative features I added in gold also. I'm going to apply this Minwax oil-based stain, and it is in dark walnut is the color. You can't really read it very good, but it's dark walnut and it's oil-based. And I'm going to put some on it and wipe it around. And then I'm going to use a rag to get it off, but I am not going to put it on quite as dark or thick as the shabby guy does. I'm going to let what's on the rag to allow it to get into the crevices. I'm just applying some to the rag with the brush. I'm using the brush to try to work in a lot of the stain right in the grooves because the rag won't reach it. But what I'm finding is I actually painted this piece with chalk paint, and I did seal it, but I used a flat sealer. And if I did this again, I would definitely use a satin sealer so that it doesn't grab as much of the stain, because I'm using a dark walnut, which is very, very dark stain, and it's just grabbing onto it too dark. I'm having to wipe most of it off with mineral spirits. But I'm having to use the brush where there's grooves like this because the rag won't reach in there. You can see how dark that looks when I wipe it off. So that's way too dark. Because you want your color to show through. I'm going to be using this Parks Pro finisher, which is a water-based polyurethane, and it's in a satin, crystal clear satin finish, which is a little bit shiny, not flat. I wanted to do it in something a little shiny, but I'm going to put a coat of this all over, and I'll probably actually do 2 coats. So, and I'm going to put it on with a brush. And this will really help to protect it. And I may end up doing a little bit of rubbing of the gilding wax and the gold on these little details, but I'm going to wait and decide till I get the handles on and see what it looks like. And I'll probably do a little just scuff sand after this first coat with my sponge, like Scotch-Brite pad, just to knock down any little sharp points that they get sometimes when you brush on your sealer. And the sealer goes on a little bit, like if you've ever used Mod Podge for anything, it goes on kind of whitish, milky looking, but then it dries clear. And you want to make sure you stir it. I usually, in the container that it comes in, makes it hard to stir. I don't shake it, but I kind of take the container and roll it around so that it's mixed up really good. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like it, don't forget to click on subscribe if you haven't already, and click on like. And watch some of my other videos if you like this one on Carolyn's Painted Pieces. Thanks.